Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in a lush green valley, there lived a young man named Ethan. Ethan carried within him a kind heart and a yearning to live a meaningful life. But Ethan spent much of his youth lost in habits that seemed harmless but silently held him back from reaching his true potential. Today, I invite you to pause and reflect. Let us follow Ethan's story together. This is not just the story of one young man, it is a mirror reflecting our own lives. Along this journey, you will discover 6 habits that held Ethan back and perhaps hold you back as well from living a life full of meaning. Listen carefully and don't miss a word. Because by the end of this story, I will give you the key not only to overcoming limitations but also to opening the door to true freedom within your soul. Are you ready? Let us step into the story. 1. Lack of focus. Have you ever wondered why your day seems to fly by so quickly, yet the truly important things remain unfinished? Ethan is a perfect example of this. He often sat down with the intention of completing an important task, but within minutes, a phone notification or a fleeting thought would pull him away from his focus. Time, as precious as sand in an hourglass, slipped through his fingers 1 grain at a time. Ethan allowed distractions to drain his energy, leaving his mind like a leaf drifting aimlessly along a current. Lack of focus is not just about losing time. It diminishes your value. A scattered mind is a weak mind. Ethan didn't realize that the trivial things he allowed to intrude were thieves stealing his dreams and his ability to make a difference. To overcome this, Ethan needed to reassess, are the things consuming his attention truly important? Don't let yourself be like a candle burning brightly at both ends, only to find your light too short-lived to illuminate the path ahead. Dear friend, ask yourself what is pulling you away from your main journey. Have the courage to cut out distractions, and you will discover the power of focus not just as a skill but as a path to freedom. 2. Fear of change. Ethan, like many, was trapped in what we call the comfort zone. But do you realize the comfort zone isn't really safe? It's where dreams are suffocated, potential is buried, and precious opportunities slip away in regret. Ethan feared the unfamiliar because it brought risks. He clung to what was familiar, even though deep down he knew it no longer served him. Fear of change is a manifestation of a rigid mind. We think that maintaining the status quo will protect us from failure, but in truth, it keeps us stuck. Ethan didn't understand that change, however frightening, is the only constant in life. Like a flowing river, life is a series of continuous shifts. Trying to control it only adds to our exhaustion. Sometimes, letting yourself flow with the current is the only way to find your true direction. Have you ever felt afraid to make a major decision? If so, remember this fear isn't a signal to stop. It's a reminder that you're standing on the threshold of something meaningful. Ethan only realized this when one day he dared to step out of the shadow of his fear and face change. From that moment, the world began to open up for him. 3. Being too harsh on oneself. Have you ever felt like you're not good enough, even after giving your best? Ethan constantly trapped himself in the pressure of perfection. He didn't allow himself to make mistakes because he feared the judgment of others and worse, his own judgment. Every time he failed, instead of learning from it, he tormented himself with harsh criticisms. Why am I so useless? I can never do anything right. Those self-critical words were like sharp blades, cutting into his already fragile self-esteem. But perfection is just an illusion. No one is born perfect, and no one becomes complete without failure. It was unfortunate that Ethan didn't realize this sooner. He didn't understand that every mistake is a lesson, every failure a stepping stone to growth. Being overly self-critical doesn't help you improve, it only drains your energy. We weren't created to always be right. We were created to learn, to correct our mistakes, and to move forward. If you like Ethan, are making yourself suffer with unrealistic standards, stop. Look at yourself as you would a dear friend ready to forgive, ready to encourage, ready to love, no matter what mistakes you've made. When Ethan met a wise monk, he received profound advice to let go of these habits. He learned to focus on the present, trust himself, face failure, stop seeking external validation, and embrace life's uncertainties. Through persistent practice, Ethan transformed himself, becoming someone admired and respected. He inspired others with his story of overcoming struggles, proving that anyone can change and achieve true respect with enough determination. 4. Procrastinating on exercising. Have you ever told yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," only to find tomorrow always remains in the future? Ethan was no different. He immersed himself in work, taking on every responsibility, but neglected his own body. Ethan didn't realize that his body was the only home he would live in for life. Every time he postponed exercising, he unintentionally pushed himself closer to exhaustion, not just physically but mentally. Think of your body as a vessel of energy. If you don't regularly replenish it, the vessel will empty. Work is like a flame, and if you keep pouring everything into it, that flame will burn away the balance you're striving to maintain. Ethan didn't realize that by sidelining his health, he was closing the door to the invaluable opportunities that a clear mind and a healthy body could bring. People often think that self-care is a luxury, but in truth, it is the foundation for truly serving others. Look deep within yourself. If today was the day you were completely drained, could you carry on with anything at all? Ethan learned that exercising is not just about maintaining health, it's an act of self-love. Stop, listen to your body, and don't let the promise of tomorrow turn into a lie you tell yourself. 5. Relying on others to make decisions. Ethan was always afraid of facing his own responsibilities. He feared that if he made a wrong decision, he would be criticized, looked down upon, and so he waited for others to guide him a way to escape the burden, a way to comfort himself that, if mistakes happened, they wouldn't be his fault. But when you let others decide for you, you not only give up your right to control your life, but also your chance to grow. Ethan didn't realize that every time he handed over his decisions, he diminished his own soul a little more. That sense of helplessness wasn't brought about by circumstances, it was something he built himself. Life is a series of choices, and every decision, whether right or wrong, is a step forward on the journey of growth. What is failure if not an opportunity to learn? Ethan only realized this when he dared to face his fears, dared to take responsibility for himself. Remember, no one understands you better than you. Don't fear mistakes. Mistakes aren't the end, they're the springboard for you to go further. 6. Inability to say no. Ethan was a kind-hearted person, but that very kindness became a trap that bound him. He didn't know how to say no, unable to refuse anyone for fear of displeasing them or being judged. He stretched himself thin, trying to meet every request, and when the day settled into silence each night, he felt exhausted and empty. Ethan had no time left for himself, no energy to pursue his own goals. Do you see yourself in that image? The inability to say no is like tying yourself to burdens that don't belong to you. You cannot please everyone, nor do you need to. Ethan realized that every time he said yes to others, he was saying no to himself. That doesn't mean you should be selfish or push people away. It simply means you need to prioritize what truly matters. Saying no isn't a rejection of love or responsibility, it's a way to protect your boundaries. Ethan learned to set limits, not to distance himself from others, but to ensure he didn't lose himself. You can do the same. Start with small refusals, and you'll find yourself feeling lighter, freer. Have you ever felt like you were trying to move forward, but your feet were held back by an invisible force? Ethan's habits were just like that. They didn't shout or rush, but they clung silently to his every step. What's frightening is that he didn't realize he was being bound until a quiet sense of helplessness overwhelmed him. You know, these habits are like underwater currents, silently pulling away his willpower and faith. Ethan thought he was in control of everything, but in reality, he was letting these habits steer his life. Procrastination, dependency, and the fear of saying no didn't just rob him of precious time, they made him forget the meaning of living a truly fulfilling life. But the moment he recognized this, something miraculous happened. Awareness wasn't just the light that illuminated the way, it was the strength that unlocked the chains. Ethan stopped blaming circumstances or what he couldn't control. He began to turn inward, face himself, identify each invisible tether, and step by step, he loosened them. Dear friend, nothing changes unless we begin from within. Ethan's journey reminds us that awareness is the first step and the most important one. When you truly see what's holding you back, you've already traveled halfway to freedom. The rest is just finding the courage to keep moving forward. Are you ready?